Welcome everyone to the Native 2.0 with me, your guest CJ Rose. First, I want to say apologies for the late start because we're live and technical issues do happen. So thank you for your patience. Um, this is a space where we discuss the truth behind our culture, our music, and we dive into real stories, stories that matter, stories that you want to hear about. Today's a big one. I promise you. My guest carries one of the most respected in he is Morgan Heritage Royalty, the Grammy Award winning family. And now he embarks on a new journey with a bold new sound, blending reggae into country with a bit of soul. And he's taking it on the road with the No Water in My Whiskey solo K tour. And we're calling this conversation The Next Chapter, the borderless rhythm of reggae. We also have another guest coming up later on. You'll hear from Professor Femi Bogle Atsubai on the legacy of the Windrush generation. That's history you won't want to miss. But before we go into this, let's bring on our super guest, the king of country reggae himself, Gramps Morgan.
You're too kind. Thank you.
Good. Where are you in the world, Mr. Morgan?
I'm heading to the airport very soon. So I'm in between cities.
So are
As
you
you know.
coming to London?
Yes, I'll be landing in London very soon. So I just finished the Roots and Rhymes tour here in the United States with Stephen Marley and Buju Banton. That was an incredible tour. And just been on the phone. We've been just congratulating each other and just saying thank you for us making history. Because a lot of times reggae music is not pushed as a main genre in a lot of these countries. So to pull off something like this and have it happen in the United States, doing big venues like this, it's an accomplishment for Jamaica and the Caribbean.
Wow. First and foremost, can you hear me well? And is the sound coming through good for you?
Yeah,
Because we're
man.
live and big up.
Yes, it's coming through live. It was breaking
Perfect.
up a little bit, but we're good to go.
We're good to go. But first, Grams, can I say, as a stylist and a designer, your
Mm.
drop, your drip is the new term, is blowing, is eating. It is on fire.
I mean, I
But
keep it
ladies,
simple. I like these hats and a clean shirt, deodorant, and as we're growing up as Jamaican, you have to beard and fresh.
you have a whole your fresh.
Yeah,
But
so
my
no
brother, you look,
nastiness.
yeah, you look and you're presenting like the royalty that you are.
Wow,
So, I love your new project, Grams. I
thank
think
you,
it's a very noble move with a noble cause
thank you.
at a time when the world is divided.
Mm,
There's a lot of hatred coming from all around, genocide, segregation, repatriation, forced repatriation, and all of that. You are using music to join cultures, which is, I think, the essence of reggae music. Bob Marley said, reggae music is going to teach them one lesson.
yeah, yeah.
Tell me a little bit more about this collaboration and this
It's
new sound.
well, Rose. It's something that it's in your DNA too, right? I think somewhere, I don't know if you're Jamaican, African, but somewhere in your DNA, you are African, right? So and especially if we go Caribbean, the fact is that the sound, the soundtrack for a Sunday evening in any Caribbean home, whether it's St. Lucia, Guyana, Trinidad and Tobago, Cayman, Jamaica, when that rice and peas are bubble pan a Sunday, and the coconut milk are greater, you know. There's a lot of work on the scallion and the pimento and the thyme. This is my story. The soundtrack when mom was in the kitchen was gospel music, revival music, little bit of R&B, and of course country and reggae and rocksteady and ska. So it was a mixture of music. So we grew up all hearing this sound, this mash of music. And so during the pandemic, I had a chance to just really reflect and say, what haven't I done? You know, and Morgan Heritage, we had a tours booked and it was business as usual. But for me, it was like, okay, how do I become better? And for me, the first thing I wanted to do was become a better songwriter. I wanted to learn how to just write some songs that impacted, not that it was a hit record, but it impacted your life. I wanted to write songs that had meaning, that could last forever. Like when I sing a song like, We Are the World. Watch this. What's the next part?
We are the children.
How did you know that? How is that 25, 30 years later and you still remember that? Because it's a song that impacted your life. It's a song that had meaning. So this is what the part of my life I went to, and I started sharing these things with my brother Peter, may his soul rest in peace, and just saying, yo, we got to start making songs that, you know, I think we were doing a decent job, but how do we do more? So this sound that I've created is just a reflection of Jamaican culture. You know, you listen to names like Josie Wheels and the whole Duel and Bad Boy and the whole sound clash thing. It came from cowboy and western movies culture.
Wow. Now, you grew up in Jamaica. Oh, well, you were
Mm.
born in the US, and you probably
Yes,
spent your time between both countries. I was
yes.
born in Kingston, Jamaica.
Mm.
Came to the UK when I was about 6 or so,
Yeah.
and I absolutely can identify with a Sunday reggae time on the radio.
Hmm.
Mummy's in the kitchen coming from church cooking the rice and peas, and
Yes.
the soundtrack for us was reggae, country and western, Ace Cannon, um, Dolly Parton, some Sonia Spence. Some of the Jamaican artists were kind of bordering on that as well. And Christmas in our house was Jim Reeves. We'd wake up to Jim Reeves, that kind of
See,
bluegrass sound,
you
and a little bit
see.
of Elvis Presley. So I hear you and I feel you.
Yeah.
You know, your UK tour is selling out fast. What do you, the UK audience are very eclectic. You know that I've interviewed you before at Reggae Land last year. You see how the UK embraces reggae music and everything. How do you want them to perceive or receive this tour, this new sound that resonates with all of us?
I would love the reggae fans to see, like, I would ask them to come on a date with me, right? Let me come on this date. Let me show you something new. I'm the new girlfriend. I'm the new boyfriend. I'm the new husband. I'm the one that's asking you to marry me, right? I'm the one that's introducing this thing from the bush, the countryside of Jamaica, where we cook it down in a coconut milk, everything in a coconut milk, the culture cooked on the wood fire. I am that. I am the grass. I am the hay. I am the countryside of Jamaica where simplicity rules. And I reconnected myself to that in the pandemic because we realized that the culture was so impactful. And we realized, guess what, Rose? We realized that a lot of things that we thought we needed, we don't need. So, CJ, guess what? In the pandemic, we wake up one day and say, why? Me a looking at the garage for this tool for so long and me just a find it. Because we had a chance to slow down, reconnect, reimagine. How can I be better? So the pandemic for me changed me. And not necessarily changed, but it enhanced me as a man, as a father, you know, as a son. It made me reevaluate and miss my childhood. So this is what I want when people come to see me on this No Water and My Whiskey UK tour, is to revisit their marriage, revisit their sibling, you know, their relationship with their siblings, to reimagine their childhood, to revisit their childhood and say, boy, I missed that part of my life there. Because sometimes we're going through so much things that we don't know really Sometimes we may just need a lollipop, you know? Or just remember when we used to watch cartoons because we're such in a rush to grow up. And then when we grow up, we want to be young again. You know?
Powerful.
So I want people to, when they come to this show, to fall in love with themselves all over again. For husbands to fall in love with their wives all over again. For wives to have a deeper appreciation for their husbands all over again, to feel his pain and understand. For a husband to address the hurt that he did to the woman and not shy away from that, to not shy away from pain. So that for me, my shows, and this is the first time it's coming to the UK, and I haven't done it a lot of places because of my day job, which is called Morgan Heritage. And when people come to it, it's like church, it's like therapy, it's like a revisiting of your youth. And especially for Caribbean people, and not only Caribbean people, people from all different parts of the world, Americans, Canadians, uh, Europeans, because at some point, it's like the other day I was in Ghana, CJ, and I was there on a reparations conference where people came all over from different parts of Africa, all over the world, including the Prime Minister of Barbados and the Minister of Culture and Sports, which is the Honorable um, Babsy Grange. And we were there, and I was so proud of us as a species. When I say species, I'm talking the human race, because um, when we start to have the conversation about reparations, it's not a charity. We're not looking for a check to go to the Louis Vuitton store. That's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to say that okay, CJ Rose would like, because she, somewhere in her lineage, somebody suffered from the transatlantic slave trade, and you didn't have a head start. You didn't have a trust fund. You didn't have certain a head start. So we want to say, hey, let's have that conversation because Gramps and CJ suffer from that. So we're making our way by the grace of the Most High. We're surviving by grace. So it's not a thing we're saying, give me a handout, because we've always been a hardworking people, some of the hardest working people. Immigrants have always been some of the hardest working people in the existence of time. But what we're saying is like, let's have a conversation to say, okay, even the children of the slave master, they have the burden to bear to say, your people was a part of the transatlantic slave trade. They have that burden to bear too, and they should also be released of that. So it's a conversation that we should say, let us all come to the table. It's not, let's come to the table and give me some money, come on and buy some food and put it in my house and put on a pot of curry goat. That's not what we're saying. We're saying that let's have a conversation because we're doing okay. You're surviving, CJ. Your hair is done, your nails are done. So we're doing okay, right?
Yeah.
So, but I'm saying it's time to let's have a conversation to see how can we make things better. That the ones that are having it harder than most, to just help to say, okay, if my kid probably went to Harvard or Oxford, maybe it would help him have a better job, have a chance instead of starting so low on the pole of life. Instead of starting here, I had to start here because of my people. I come from far. Because when you hear those stories that I grew up with nothing, we hear those stories all the time. Oh, my mother was uneducated. I was the first to go to university in my family. You don't hear those stories a lot in European and American, white Caucasian Americans. So I think it's a conversation that is doing well, and we're at the beginning of the healing point.
Gramps, this is so powerful and refreshing because I think often on the receiving of music and watching some of our artists grow, conquer the world from a musical perspective, it
Mm,
sometimes feels that the journey has been lost and the history has been lost because we have a responsibility to ourselves, especially from an island like Jamaica, very small. Every artist should be pulling up another artist because you know each other from around the way. And you probably eat out of the same pot. I
yeah.
had eaten out of the same pot. So I really respect this narrative that you have shared with us. And I
Mm,
think the community is going to sit up and say, all Gramps Morgan is Gramps Morgan of Morgan Heritage. And we are so multifaceted. So we can do Morgan Heritage of Odessa, country reggae over Yassa, the political something over Yassa.
Yeah,
That's who we are as a people. And we
yeah.
do it with love for others because it's important to understand our history. It's not just for us, but for others as well, to be relieved of that burden of responsibility. So I love what you're saying, and I thank you for bringing this to this platform. Now, you mentioned that this project was started in lockdown, and I think if we embrace lockdown for what it was meant to do, it was meant to slow us down, spend time with self and reflect. I
Yeah.
actually looked up. I never looked up in my town. I was like, oh my God, that's a nice building. Because I was like this. Did have you experienced any challenges now bringing this to the fore? Because some of the tracks are 4 years old,
Yeah.
5 years old.
Yeah.
What are the challenges that you've had to overcome to bring this project to the fore with your UK tour?
One of the biggest ones is touring, right? Because I didn't get a chance to tour. And we created a project that got nominated for a Grammy, and people were blown away. Forbes magazine, People magazine, that were like, oh my God, what is this? And then my day job, I had to get back to my day job, which is Morgan Heritage. That will forever be my day job, right? Until we say we're going to retire or whatever. But that comes first. Morgan Heritage comes first. And it's worse that my father has passed away, and my brother Peter, the lead singer, have passed away, and now my son has stepped into the seat to say, whenever we have a live show, Daddy, Uncle Mojo, Auntie Una, I will perform. I will represent Uncle Peter, and that's a noble thing of him because he's working on his new album with Damian Marley right now in the studio. So he's always been doing his own thing. The first two solo albums he did for himself, I produced it. So he's always been doing music. So I have to prepare myself to kind of to guide and quarterback and coach this whole new thing that we have to live with, this pain, this scar that we have to live with. So the country reggae thing took a back seat when the pandemic started, right? I mean, when it reopened and everybody started touring back again, and we went back on tour, and of course the loss of my father. So it's been a lot of challenges, CJ, big challenges, the pain that I have to live with losing my dad and losing Peter. And so it's just now, after 4 years, people are like, wait there, which album this? Wait, this nice. Some people are say, why, me not understand this. Some people are say, why this sound familiar? Some people have said, boy, this makes a lot of sense. I get it. Me love reggae and me love country. And I'm talking people from St. Lucia, people from Kenya, people from UK, because we've all had a little bit of country in our life. So I'm just now getting a chance to do that. And once people gravitate to it, that's why the album was nominated for a Grammy, because people that when the nomination process starts and as people lock themselves in a room and listen to all these albums, at least for the first 8 seconds of each song. And then when they listen to those songs, they're like, wait a minute, this is good or this sucks. And that's how the voting process. So when people got a chance to kind of like saturate the album with ears and eyes and say, let me take a listen to it, the result was I got nominated for a Grammy for that album. And that's the voting process, it's hundreds of albums that get listened to, thousands of albums. Um, so to have that happen and people say, hey, the production on it, enough respect to the producer that worked with me on the album, the guy, he's from Scotland actually, a guy named Johnny Reed, a Scottish man and a Jamaican Rasta man. Who would have thought? And that shows you the diversity of what happens when we can come together as a species and put our differences aside and put our, what we think we know. Because I could have been like, yo, well, me know this and me a Grammy Award winner. I was a Grammy Award winner when I went into this project already from 2016 with the
Mhm.
album Strictly Roots with Morgan Heritage. So for this album, I wanted to humble myself and say, Let me become an empty cup and be filled with something new so I can grow. And that's what happened.
I listened to the EP at 3 in the morning,
Oh,
because I'm mourning the loss of my mother, who
oh, man.
transitioned last Friday. And I tell
Oh,
you what happened,
so
Graham.
sorry.
One of my regrets is that she won't be able to join me at your concert, because
Oh.
I got up off that sofa and I was dancing. And my favorite track, one of my favorite tracks, is "No Put No Water in My Whiskey Man." And my mom had a special thing. They danced different in those days, and she was the master of this footwork. And I envisaged her at your concert because she loved you all. So I thank you for this. And when I was listening to the tracks,
Hmm.
I I was like, okay, we know Gramps Morgan for
Yeah.
having this voice that creeps into the lead, and then it
Yes.
just explodes, and then it finds its balance and it mellows out. Am I going to hear Gramps Morgan? And I did all
Yeah.
throughout, and I'm very excited. And I'm going to say to the viewers, guys, you better get your tickets. I know you're playing Jazz Cafe in London on the 9th.
Yes. Yes.
Um, and I love Jazz Cafe because it's so intimate, but it
Yeah.
can get packed. So go and get
Yeah.
your ticket. It's amazing.
Yeah, I wanted to kind of introduce. It's like this is for me is a date with the lovers of reggae music. That's what it is. We're going on a date, right? So would if I said, CJ, how are you? I like your hair. I'd like to take you for dinner. I wouldn't take you to Brixton, whatever you call it. What's the big arena over there? Wembley Arena.
Oh, Wembley, oh, two,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
too big, right? Why would unless I'm super rich, and then I want to set up a dinner table full of some ackee and saltfish in the middle of the field. I would take you to a smaller place so I can court you. So that's what it's about. I want to take the reggae fans down this journey, down memory lane. So it's a bit of the past and a bit of the present and a bit of the future. So that's what this tour is really about. So it's like when you hear me say don't put no water in my whiskey, it's a ode to and kind of speaking in personification, if we could say that's what songwriting does. So we look at whiskey as something that is pure, strong, and then imagine you a keep a party and some people come over your house and just want to mash up the party. Then put water in the whiskey, them dilute the energy, something that was pure and positive and we're having a good time. So imagine me coming to your house and I'm gonna come off, I'm gonna take off my shoes at your front door. My granny would have say, hey boy, don't put no water in my whiskey. So it's a
Oh,
way of kind of showing that you're disgruntled without saying bad words.
I love it.
Yeah.
You're joined on the project with India Ari and Shaggy. Can
Oh,
we
man.
expect can we expect some surprise appearances during the tour, or is it secret?
It's secret, but there will be you know music already. I mean, people pop up at each other's shows, and I can count countless time I've jumped on the stage with Stephen Marley, Tyrus Riley, Buju Banton. Nothing was scheduled. We just a pass through to enjoy as a fan. So those things are liable to happen anywhere in the world or anywhere on this tour where somebody come and say, "Yo," I'm gonna say, "Yo, come sing two tune with me," 'cause that's who we are. That's how our music is in our genre. Is a love, even though it's very competitive with the cowboy culture. You want to have a duel, you know. But we also love you. We're also fans of each other for sure.
Perfect. That's amazing. Because I know Shaggy will be in town for Reggae Land on the 1st and 2nd, and then you're
Yes.
immediately going on your tour.
Yes.
So can you just tell us where in the UK we can find you apart from the Jazz Cafe, those intimate settings?
Yes. For first of all, to make it very easy on me and you, CJ, and when I bust a brain for all tour dates, go to grampsmorgan.com. That's gonna make it most easier. Grampsmorgan.com. All the tour dates are there, or you can go to bandsintown.com, and the tickets are available on Skiddle, where you can just type in, and there's also a link in my bio on social media. But at a glance, Band on the Wall in Manchester. Um, is going to be something exciting for me because a legendary venue. And I like the name of the venue, Band on the Wall. I won't throw anybody up on the wall, but we're going to play some good music. And then you have Jazz Cafe on the 9th. So it starts off in Manchester. I think we head over to
Write it all
Birmingham on
down.
the 7th. And this is all of August. First of all, August 6th to 9th, we're talking about. So it's four shows. Um, and we're in Birmingham, Manchester, Leicester, and of course, the legendary Jazz Cafe. I'm excited about that. I've played there with Morgan Heritage, and I'm excited to kind of play there again and playing these songs like Islander and songs like No Water and I'm a Whiskey and A Woman Like You and Wash the Tears and maybe, the 23rd Psalms that I did with Buju Banton. There's so many songs that people have heard in the dance or on radio and never seen live. So we live once, life is short. Come on a date with me. I'm asking you, all the people of the UK, to come and have a date with me and let me make a plate of rice and peas with some different entrees, whatever your heart's desire. So come on out, August the 6th to 9th. Tickets are available at gramsmorgan.com, Punch Records as well. And big up to all the people that made this happen, especially Amo at Punch Records and the visionaries that I sounded crazy when I started talking about this. But more and more, as I'm talking to people like you, CJ, it's looking like this is going to be a very historical tour. And I'm already looking forward to come back next year.
Well, I'm looking forward to having you. And it's
Yeah.
been an absolute pleasure, Gramps Morgan, honestly. And I'm saying your name like that because I'm putting some respect on the Morgan Heritage
Uh,
family and Gramps Morgan. Absolutely beautiful. I cannot wait to see you both at Reggae Land and at the Jazz Cafe. And I wish
absolutely.
you all the best. And if there's anything we can do more to help make this tour an absolute success, just reach out.
Yes.
Listen, people, you better go watch. You better go
Yes.
on grabsmorgan.com and get your tickets. We love
And
you in the UK. Thank you
thank
so
you.
much for joining me. I'm so humbled and honored.
Thank you, CJ, to you and your team for having me today, and everyone that's working hard in that studio, all the tech people that people never get to talk about, the people that set up your mic, and people that make sure you look good, makeup. Those people never get heard and never get talked about. So big respect to them. And I look to meet everybody soon. One day we'll do it in studio, and I'll see you guys in the UK very soon. Much love and respect.
Blessed love, one love, peace.
Iris.
Thank you, my brother, Irie. Peace. I can now exhale. What a beautiful soul. What a beautiful soul. And I've worked with this energy before, and the whole family carries this love and respect. So thank you. Now, let me bring in my guest, Femi Bogo Asagai, Professor Femi, who has been sitting in the background, very patiently waiting. Mama Femi, hello, greetings. My Rasta friend tells me hell is low. We don't need to use that greeting. So my apologies. Big up, one love, and respect to you. We can't hear you. We're live. We've got a sound issue. I can hear you. Sorry, I can't hear you. Your mouth is moving, but I have no sound from you. Are my technicians around? So, I mean, there's something wrong with the sound from your side. So while Femi,
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Perfect.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Perfect. So you heard me and the audience heard my intro. Professor Femi Boga Asagai, give us a little bit about you. Give us a little background on who you are before we get into the conversation.
Uh, First of all, I'm a retired professor, although I continue to teach. I teach ethics and philosophy. When I was in England, I taught economics and philosophy. But when I left England, I left as an administrator. I was responsible for hiring and managing supply teachers or substitute teachers. I'm not sure which country I get confused as to what they're called. In the London Borough of Brent, which is where I lived while I was there and operated and functioned. I was assistant race relations advisor along with Sunu engineer to the director of education in the London Borough of Brent. And during the period that I was in England, um, I guess you could say it was a period of activism and revolution, certainly in the London Borough of Brent. And I'm not saying Brixton, I'm saying Brent because the entire borough is where we are as Black people. And it's almost like a hidden secret in plain sight, in that people tend to think of Brixton as where Black people are. But Brent, the actual borough, is where we are and where we've done big things, as it were. So I was very much an educator in charge of education there, managed and ran the Leary Constantine Saturday School. And Upton left England as a political exile with my husband and children, because Maggie Thatcher decided that she was going to come and deconstruct the Republic of Brent that was started, if you will, by myself and my husband and other people in the borough, because we'd basically taken over the Labour Party and we were running the borough as Black people, primarily via the party system. So you didn't necessarily see us in the front end. We were running the borough from behind, and they were well aware of that. And just as we left, I left England in 1988, I believe. Yeah, or thereabouts. But all of my life was lived and spent there. So, if you will, I'm a Windrush generation, a child of the Windrush families. So, because we're talking about the period between 1948 and 1973.
But you also have a very special lineage as well.
Well,
Coming
yes,
from
you
the
can see
borough of
that.
Brent,
I'm a
from the Bogle.
Bogle. I'm a Bogle. I'm a Bogle. Okay, so I'm a Bogle. I'm definitely a Paul Bogle relative. He is my great great grandfather, and we can actually show the line. So, and my family from
Yes,
St. Thomas. We are from St. Thomas, and all of Yalis and all of the areas throughout
such a
Morin
huge
Bay, and
connection.
yes,
Yes,
and we're still very much there. I go home every year because I'm engaged in some projects
there.
with respect to education and working with the local community back there.
Yes. And you're also the sister of our beloved Queen of Lovers Rock, Miss Janet Kay. But
Well,
let's not
that's
leave that out.
yes, I'm her older sister, but that's not a
Yes,
horse I ride. Simply
I
because
know.
she stands in her own space and I stand in mine. I'm
But I
the
love the
academic.
connection
I know, I know, I know.
because through
Kay,
you, I've
Kay,
done some work with her.
I always say Kay is my baby sister, and
Yeah.
she hates that.
She's a beautiful
you know,
soul, her and Carol
yeah,
Thompson. They're
she's
beautiful
my baby
souls.
sister.
So,
They're lovely
so for
women,
me,
just very laid back.
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
I wanted you on today because I wanted to discuss the legacy of the Windrush generation, particularly the women and the roles that they played during that challenging time. Brought on a westerly course on a ship, came to a country that you thought was going to welcome you with open arms, but you felt a lot. You were met with a lot of rejection. My mother, Miss Gloria J. Rose, has transitioned as your
That's
mother very
my mother.
recently. I
Right,
know her as Miss Kane. She
right,
passed on, or she transitioned in the US.
right.
And I wanted to sing honor to these strong female, uh, what can I call them? Entities, energies. A lot of them had great talent, which they had to leave behind to come here, take menial jobs, raise a family. I give you a scenario. We came in the 70s, three of us from Jamaica, myself, my brother, and my older sister, you know very well because she lives in your area in Connecticut. And I remember we went to a primary school, which was about 50 yards down the road from my house in East London. And it was a very cold November afternoon. We were walking home from school, devoid of sunlight. That was one of the big things that I thought I couldn't understand. There was no sunlight
Right,
at three
right,
o'clock
no
in the
sun.
afternoon. And
Right.
this lady grabbed my sister, she was about 8 years old, spat in her face and called her a black bastard. She ran home crying to my mum, and my mum came down with her cutlass. Such a Jamaican thing. And you know my mother,
Such a
she's
Jamaican
very
thing. Yes,
prim, she's very
yes.
proper, very stylish, but she went into war mode very, very quickly. And it was an uncle of mine that was driving past at the time and saw, well, he wasn't really a blood relative, but but he was an uncle, and he had to intervene. That spirit,
But
can we
that is
pay
the
homage to
spirit
that
that,
spirit?
yes, let's pay homage to that, because that is the spirit that uh, protected us, right? As we, the children, joined our mothers and our fathers, and we entered the school system. Because when we entered the school system, we entered in droves, actually, in the early 70s, late 70s, because it was during that period that they were able to send for those of us who they left in the Caribbean. My mother also had a cutlass, and I wondered what she was doing with this cutlass. She called it her dull. This is my dull. you know, but I think what is really, really important about the Windrush generation is the history needs to be told and retold to our young people, because I think we're like in the fifth generation probably of our young people who have come from that generation, but they do not have a good grasp of the history, and they need to understand that the women who came to join the men were forced, whether they liked it or not, to stand firm beside, behind, and in front of those men, because they were hell bent on making sure that their families stayed together. And one of the things that we did in order to survive and function is we created non-blood families, right? So our mothers made sure that we understood that all of their friends, all of their female friends were our aunties, and all of their male friends, or the father's male friends, were our uncles. And so they created around us a force field that allowed us to operate and function and thrive. Many of us thrived, which is unlike what we're looking at now with our young people. They're
Mm.
flailing, and they're flailing, I would argue, because we have given up a lot of what would be our community values, our cultural values, and our focus. Why were we there? We've lost much of all of that. And again, we're talking about the strength of the women. Where are our women? Where are they? And what is our role? What has been our role? To the extent that we are a migratory people, I understand that, for example, I'm no longer in England, and many of us picked up and we left, we migrated and went elsewhere. But we have to look at some of the structural things in the community and the society that's really impacted us as a group of people. The Windrush structure and systems that exist is a problem, right? The whole compensation scheme, for example, that's a problem. The way in which the British did not make sure that our families were secured in terms of their understanding of their nationality, where they are, and so on and so forth, such that they were able to engage in this hostile environment nonsense, to take away the rights of our people, mothers, fathers, grandparents, and so on, who came and literally rebuilt the country. Rebuilt the country. Our mothers and fathers in the factories, on the railroad, and the bus systems, the hospitals. For crying out loud, the National Health Service would not be what it is if it were not for Black women, and Black women coming from the Caribbean and the former Commonwealth countries, throughout the world. And so now to be in a situation where it appears as though we're just like flailing about. Why are we here? This is the kind of sense that I get. I was in England in January, and it felt really very odd in terms of community. You know, where's us? Where are we? Right? Where are we? And there are several things that I think has contributed to that loss of sense and loss of identity, because our children, it seems to me, are not sure. They're not sure of who they are, what their role is, or what their focus is. And I've been watching some of the younger podcasters, younger Black podcasters, and as I watch them, I'm saying that's interesting. They're all very focused on the shiny things, which is fine. We all want the shiny things. That's a wonderful focus, as it were. But we also have to be very focused on our foundation. Our foundation. What is and was our foundation? What is it that gave us the strength to be able to stand up and to move forward and to step in and give the values that we were raised with to our children? So that, for example, the partner system. At 8 years old, I was collecting partner money from my mother, who was the banker. So people would show up at the house and would leave their money with me. I was writing that down in the book and then giving my mother the money. So I was trained, if you will, in our internal banking system, our internal finance system. Because when we came to England, our families were not given the opportunity to bank or to put their monies into banks. They couldn't go to the bank and open a bank account. So we had to use our own internal system to be supportive of each other and to purchase our homes, to purchase cars, to purchase refrigerators, to purchase all of those things that allowed us as people coming in new to the country to buy those things that made us comfortable, that gave us a comfortable life. Well, the white working class people in England thought that was a little strange. We just got there. They know we're isolated because they've isolated us. How are we able to purchase homes after sleeping on park benches and sleeping in telephone boxes and in between houses during the cold, right? The cold, dark, damp, gray, fog-consumed society that we found. How were we able to purchase homes so we could put each other up and be supportive of each other? We didn't get preoccupied with what your personality was about, who you were looking at, what you were wearing, what you were not wearing, who you weren't looking at, who you were going with, who you were not going with. It was a case of we have to survive. The very carnival that is now the international festival in Europe was started by a Black woman, Claudia Jones, a Trinidadian journalist, right? So we brought our culture into Britain. We didn't just help to rebuild the country, we gave Britain its sustenance, the thing that keeps it going today, right? Because Britain is able to be introduced and reintroduced to the world, to the Commonwealth, because of our very presence, our energy, our culture, our style, all of who we are as Black people. We've given that to Britain. But one of the things, and then I'll stop talking for a minute, one of the things that broke our system down is the fact that our ability to save money and to have our own internal banking system confounded the establishment. And so a man called Dilip Hero was commissioned to investigate what it is that was going on inside of the Caribbean community that allowed us to find monies to purchase homes. Well, Dilip Hero wrote a book called Black British, White British. I think the book is still, it's not out of print. I think you can still get it. Black British, White British, Dilip Hero. And in that book, he explained to the British establishment that Caribbean people, Jamaicans and other Caribbean people, brought with them their own financial credit system. And so they have monies that they pull together and they're able to give credit to each other based upon how the system is structured. right? So the partner system and the susu system, right? Our colleagues in the smaller Caribbean islands, our family members out of Africa, the susu system. When the establishment discovered that, what they then did, and this is intentional, deliberate, and structured, is that they then opened up the banking system. Well, if these people have thousands of pounds to purchase homes, we need that in our banking system because we can earn interest on that. And we need to take their money and then begin to give them loans,
And then
right?
close off and
And
then
then
control
close
us
off.
and close the opportunities.
There you go. There you go.
What
So we
happens?
need to begin to think strategically about what's happening. And again, also how we raise our children and what we
Yes.
train them to do, right?
Yes.
Because
I
that's one. Go on.
I was going to say, because I know you're a great orator and I don't want to keep interrupting, but you're saying you're dropping some gems. And I wanted to say, do you think the way back is re education? And it's crucial because we're losing our elders. And if you haven't sat at the feet of those elders and absorbed the history, unfortunately, it's going to be lost. You
Correct.
won't have
Correct.
it. So I give respect to my mother, Gloria Joyce Rose, and your mother, Miss Kane, because I have children. My mother has many grandchildren. And let me tell you, the history is firmly implanted in my DNA, right? Through the food, through the stories, through the music, through the through the oratory traditions, and through demonstration. So we're like a unique bunch. How do we ensure that the community, the mass community, these young men that are out there running rampant with knives in the UK and guns in the US, understand the culture and the pride that they're coming from? I spoke to a very good friend of mine who's Nigerian, and he was telling me about the majesty that he grew up in, that, that we probably would never know, because the stories that you hear, the visuals that come out of Africa is about depravity and corruption. But he grew up in a very majestic environment, and he carries that in him to become an exceptional businessman. Is it about re-education, and how do we find that thread when there's been a gap, because
Yeah.
we've lost that generation, and it's,
Every
I think after
single,
our
every
generation it got
single,
confused.
every single bit counts. And we all must take accountability and become responsible for doing just what you have said there, which is passing on the knowledge. Accept that we're the adults and these are the young people. And it starts very, very early. It starts early. And so we have to. Yes, it is about re education and it is about educating our children at home. We cannot abrogate our responsibility to a school system or to an education system, because that system is going to do what it was designed to do, which is not to educate our children, right? Not to educate us. And when they discovered that we were doing very well, those of us who came from the Caribbean in the early 70s, becoming very, very successful in their education system. I am with 7 O levels, A levels, University of London graduate, right? 2-1 graduate. That means something in England. Doesn't mean anything here in the United States. But we have to take responsibility to educate our children and to pass on our strong, firm values. Because what the system also did, something very structural that it did, was it used the education system and the system of psychology to define our children as educationally subnormal, which was exposed by Bernard and Phyllis Cord, who wrote the book. If you've never heard of it, go look for it. All right? Because the more things change, the more they stay the same. What is going on in the system is that it's being relabeled and repackaged, all of those systems that were put in place to stop us and to block us as newly minted, if you will, Black people who were succeeding in the British system, because we came in the 70s and we began to do better than their white working class children. And of course, education is the way out of your class in England, right? It's not about how much money you make, but if you're educated and you get a good education and you can climb that ladder, because it's the only way you're going to climb. There's no other way you're going to climb out of it unless you have funds, to do the business and so on and so forth. So yes, we have a responsibility, and I think it's on us. I think it's on us. And I'm old enough now, I'm an elder. So I'm old enough now to recognize that if we do not do it, it is not going to get done. Period. Period. And not only that, we also know it because we carry it. It's in our DNA. It's in our soul, right? So yes, we have to pass on what are our cultural values? What are the norms that we stand by? Regardless of the shift that is occurring right now in terms of technology and where the world is moving to, we are part of a greater diaspora, right? So, as an African diaspora in the sixth region, if you will, of the continent of Africa, we have to understand that that's our connection. Those are the people to whom we're connected, and we're not going to disappear. But we have to have foundational values. Go back to the fundamentals, right? Manners. There's something called manners, and that's real. That's not a pretend, that's not a maybe. You have to respect your elders. We're not just saying it, it has to be done. So when we see young people who are being disrespectful, who are not paying homage, if you will, to elders, the elders, of course, have to make sure they're carrying themselves in a certain kind of way. So that when
Well,
we speak, young people can have
listen,
the desire to represent, if you will.
I listened very recently to a podcast that was done on Flex FM, and they were interviewing Leo Mohammed here from here, was a great leader in our community. And he said in his area, he saw a young boy dealing, probably about 14, 15, and he told him about it and said, look, you're ruining your future. And the response from the young man was, go and suck your mother, basically. Can you imagine? I mean, the audacity, the respect has been eroded, and it starts from in your home for a young man to respond to a stranger in that way, let alone an adult. I'd be terrified to even respond in those days.
Well,
So yes,
that's the
something.
issue. That's the issue though, because we as adults, and I saw it so vividly when I came here to the United States, the adults were afraid of the young people,
Hmm.
the fear of the young people. We cannot be afraid of our own children. We just simply cannot do it. So if we have to have a space where we could do collective work versus going out as one individual, then that's what we need to do. We need to go back. For example, our parents started the Saturday schools in our front rooms, right? That's where they kept us, and they gave us the culture. They made sure we ate the food, made sure we learned our lessons, made sure we studied our books, made sure we were all of those things. Yes. So if we still have to do that, then that's what families need to begin to do. Families who have that concern, who have that need. Yes, because to do it on the street corner by yourself is in fact putting yourself in danger. Now, we don't want to walk into a burning house, and nobody would
Well,
suggest that.
yes, we have many platforms over here, and I have to shout out at this time to Andrew Mohammed, who now resides in Gambia, and he still runs a number of Saturday schools in the UK called the Young Leaders Academy. And I've
Ah,
been a guest lecturer at this South London school. I Incredible, I mean, absolutely incredible. Where you
that's the
see
kind of thing I'm talking about.
parents dropping their children off on a Saturday morning, saying, "Here you are, go and learn respect, manners, your history, and love."
Yes.
Because me touching on this topic, and I had Gramps Morgan on the platform earlier, and we talked about the burden of responsibility for us to know our history and to be compensated, and the burden of others to understand our history and their role they played in it. But the one thing that connects us all is that love. And when we start to understand who we are and we spread love in the world through our
Love
music, through our
always.
culture, love always. This isn't about
Always.
superiority.
No. No,
This is
this is about
about
love
understanding
always.
your place and sharing love.
Your
And on that
humanity
note,
will bring that.
humanity. And on that note, Femi, Professor Femi, I thank you so much for
Thank
giving
you
me
so
your
much for
time
the
at
chat.
such short notice.
You are welcome. Not a problem. Not a problem. I think what I'd just like to say in ending is that when, in terms of the Windrush generation, and it continues to be, we continue to have this scenario where there's this enduring financial insecurity that has occurred for so many people. People have had to deplete their savings and their pensions. The system has not properly put in place systems to replenish people's funds and to bring about restitution and so on. The documentation of who people are relative to their status as citizens or not is still not where it needs to be. And so there's a lot of work that still needs to be done, a tremendous amount of work that still needs to be done. And so those of us, because I'm doing what I need to do here in the United States as I stay connected to family members in the Caribbean and in the US and in England, more power to those people who are doing the work, because it needs to be done. It needs to be done.
Thank you so much. Thank you for joining me.
You are welcome.
And
you are
to
welcome.
our viewers, look, we bring you not bread and circus. We bring you the truth. And so please like and subscribe for more conversations like this. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, CJ. Thank you to your audience. Have a good one.
Bless you. Peace and love. Cut. It's a wrap.